Hello everyone, I hope you're all keeping well, healthy and happy. In this video I'm going to talk about Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Freemason of the Black Lodge. He was also a Grand Master and creator of the Southern Jurisdiction of the Masonic Scottish Rite Order, and published a book called Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in 1871. In the same year, Pike wrote a letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. Now, Mazzini was an Italian revolutionary leader of the mid-1800s, and he was also the director of this very shadowy organization called the Illuminati, which did exist once upon a time. The letter itself is dated August 15th, 1871, and it graphically outlines the plans for 3 world wars that were seen as necessary to bring about the New World Order. The text of the letter reads as follows. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia, and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the Agenteurs, that is the agents of the Illuminati, between the British and Germanic empires, will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the Agenteurs of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. That's the full text from the letter, which was, as I say, dated August 15th, 1871. Now, the year that it was written has been confirmed, although whether it was Albert Pike who wrote this letter or not is still being debated. That being said, the fact that it outlines many things which actually have happened over the last 160-odd years is actually quite disturbing, right? Because this letter was written in 1871, and we've seen precisely the events that it spoke about in terms of the overthrow of the Tsars in Russia, the creation of communism, the war between Britain and Germany, which was the First World War, the Second World War, the fact that the word Nazism is used as well is incredibly interesting, because that word hadn't entered the political lexicon until the Second World War. In fact, perhaps even post-Second World War. Right? So, it's actually quite interesting. And then we see the talk of establishing a state of Israel, which will be destroyed by these dark forces. We see talk of international communism being used to oppose Christendom or Christianity. And Christendom, by the way, would actually refer to Western civilization, right? Because that was considered Christendom. And we also see this final phase, if you like, which is being implemented, which is the fomentation of trouble between the Western world and the Arabic world, the Muslim world, the Islamic countries in the Middle East. And that's also incredibly interesting. Right? And we are seeing that people are completely physically, morally, spiritually, and economically exhausted. We are seeing that nihilism and atheism has set into such a degree that it's causing social cataclysms. We are seeing the destruction of the West. So whoever wrote this letter, whether it was Albert Pike or someone else, they foresaw these events happening, or they were part of the plan to make these events happen. And why do I say that these are sinister and malevolent forces, dark forces? Well, because we see in the closing lines that this Luciferian belief system will be brought in at the end of this process, when human beings have been completely and thoroughly destroyed. Right? And I don't just mean the deaths that will occur, but the destruction of the human spirit. So, this is where it gets interesting. Because we realize from this letter, if you've got an ounce of sense, you're going to have realized that, hang on a second, it is the case that these sinister, dark forces, these occult forces, which have been using their knowledge of the occult in a very malevolent way, in an evil way, quite honestly, have managed to get a stranglehold over the entire world, to establish their tyranny. Now, they are ideologically motivated, therefore. And there's something very interesting that Alexander Solzhenitsyn said about ideology. And I'd like to tell you about this as well. This is a quote directly from Solzhenitsyn. Ideology, that is what gives evil-doing its long-sought justification, and gives the evildoer the necessary steadfastness and determination. That is the social theory which helps to make his acts seem good instead of bad in his own and others' eyes, so that he won't hear reproaches and curses, but will receive praise and honours. And this is quite fascinating because it describes the mentality of these people. But it also describes the mentality which they have indoctrinated others with as well, doesn't it? Right? Because these social justice warriors, why are they doing what they're doing? For praise and honours. We've developed this new term for it, which is virtue signalling. Okay, but that's what it's all about. Is to be seen as good in other people's eyes. Because you lack that self-confidence, that self-verification of your own self. right? Who you are within, the good and the bad. Because you're failing to acknowledge that, you therefore need acknowledgement from other people to verify your own goodness. It's very, very peculiar, but that's what it's all about. And it's the ideologies that drive most people in this world, because our belief systems shape our actions. They determine our actions in a great many ways, actually. So, I just wanted to tell you about this, if you weren't already aware of it. I'm sure most of you already are, by the way. But just in case you weren't, I thought I'd bring this to your attention, and that I would read you the contents of this letter that do describe exactly what's going on. So if you were ever in any doubt about it, you should now have your doubts dispelled and realize that in point of fact, there is actually a greater agenda that is being adhered to, that is being played out on the world stage, and that all these various ideologies, communism, Islamism, feminism, cultural Marxism, all of them are interrelated. All of them are tools that are being used to bring in this Luciferian ideology, this Luciferian tyranny, which is what it will be. And it will be socially Darwinistic. It will be quite dangerous because billions of people will be eradicated. 9 out of 10 people, by the way, are going to die as a result of this. And that means you. Okay? And I'm not fear-mongering here. I'm not scaremongering or anything along these lines. I'm just telling you, as much as you might not want to accept this or realize this, that you are going to get caught up in this if you adhere to ideologies of any kind. Okay? Whether it is international communism, which is an absolutely dangerous ideology, or whether it's Islamism, which is an evil ideology, or whether it's National Socialism, which you might think is the solution and the answer, but you'll realize very, very quickly that that too is part of the game. You'll realize really fast. Okay? You might not know it just now, because I know there are a lot of people out there that think that National Socialism is the answer. No. Okay? It absolutely isn't. If it was the answer, it would have worked the first time around. It didn't. Okay? And the other thing is that it prompted people to do great evil. It really did. And it doesn't have to. You don't have to believe in the propagandist worldview of the Second World War to understand that. Okay? You merely have to acknowledge the fact that great suffering was brought about as a result of the actions of people that were ideologically motivated. Even if one person suffers as a result of that, it's one person too many. And in this case, thousands suffered. So I want you to be aware of that. I don't want you to go through life, because a lot of people are doing this, and this is just a quick warning before I end this video, right? There are a whole lot of people who are running around looking to ideologies for answers. The answers are not in that ideology that you're looking at. The answers come from philosophy. The answers come from the ancient knowers of wisdom. The ancient teachers. That's where the answers come from. They don't come from the bowels of hell itself. And most of these ideologies have produced hell on earth. That is no accident. Okay? They were designed with evil, malevolent intentions. And if you look to those for answers, you're not going to find the end result being pleasant because you'll end up getting caught in it yourself. Okay? And this is what's happening to the majority of people. People are reacting out of fear because they're seeing the chaos. They're seeing the chaos and they're reacting out of fear instead of out of courage and strength. That's what's going on, and that will lead to their own self-destruction. They'll play right into the hands of the very people that are engineering mass murder. Anyway, you might think that I'm just, rambling here. That's okay. You can dislike what I'm saying as well. You can dislike me. I don't particularly care. What I do care about is that some people at least avoid the chopping block. And those that have the sense to listen and understand will probably avoid the chopping block. You have to... The world of the future, you see, is going to be a really bad dystopia. And so you're going to have to demonstrate exceptionalism to survive. You're going to have to demonstrate... I'm going to tell you, right? I was hoping to save this for a later point. But I'll give you a brief snippet of how this is going to play out, okay? You see, what's going to happen is that people are going to be categorized based on their own preferences, choices, and abilities. Okay, that's what's going to happen. And so, everything that you're seeing happen in the political arena right now, right, is designed to filter. It's a filtration system. It's designed to test people to see whether they do become ideologically possessed. Because here's the thing, the folks that rule the roost, they don't want people who are easily manipulated around, right? They don't want them around because they'll serve no purpose. This world right now, this system that you're living under, is designed to test whether or not you will fall into the traps of becoming ideological, of becoming polarized. Okay, that's what this is all about, by the way, in case you don't know that. If you demonstrate that you have an adherence to a certain ideology, you'll be dead faster than you realize. Okay, and I'm not kidding about that. You will actually see this play out. Right? That's why a lot of people, see, very clever people, and you'll notice this with a lot of the commentators that are out there on YouTube as well. A lot of exceptionally clever people know what I'm talking about is the case. And so what they've cleverly done is position themselves away from every single ideology. Because they're hoping to avoid being put on that chopping block. But I might talk about this a little bit more in another video. I don't want to merge too many things into this one video, because this video primarily is about Albert Pike's letter, as I say. But we'll talk more about the other stuff as time goes on. Okay, and you'll get to see exactly how the filtration system works and what it's all about. Okay? Anyway, for the time being, thank you very much for watching. Take good care of yourselves, and God bless all of you.